Is this like our mime opening? Welcome to Mime Night in Canada.
Mine. No, you're mine. Mine. Bill, Sophie, MC, Gary, Jordan. What's happening all? How's everyone doing on this cold evening? How about
Windy
you?
evening here, like
Right?
really windy.
Yeah, you're getting what we got today.
Mm.
It was crazy. I was out of the house at 7:30, and I got back here at 6:30. And I was in London all day doing stuff.
Stuff in London, driving stuff, right?
Oh yeah, driving horse
Yeah.
driving stuff. Yeah, we were. There was a new OT that was training today, so he's sitting in the back with the other OT, and he's observing, what life is in the back seat when you have to evaluate someone.
Right.
Got this one client, and we're on. I think we were on Oxford in London, turning on to. I don't know where it was. And light goes amber. We're waiting to turn left in an intersection. You can appreciate this. And he gets the antsies to clear the intersection on the yellow light, and I'm right on the brake. And he goes, "There's something wrong with the car." And I said, "There's nothing wrong with the car. Look at what's coming through the intersection." And this guy had gunning it, and he's just going for it straight through the intersection. It's like he had no clue why I was stopping him. He goes, "What did I do?" And I said, "It's not what you did; it's what I did." So his results didn't turn out very well after that.
Oh yes, absolutely.
No, I mean, it was, it's sad to see people lose their whatever, so.
Yeah.
But you just keep on having fun with your instructor. I mean, the next thing I know, I'm going to read a headline that you've killed him.
No, he's not dead. He's not dead. All right, so here's the update on the whole driving thing. So my instructor had quit, and that was the last I heard. They scheduled me for a new person. Then a couple days before this session, I got an email saying my instructor's back again. So I'm sitting there trying to think, okay, what happened? And I came up with a couple of scenarios, and I figured he quit because he wanted more money and that they would bring him back for more money. And that's exactly what happened. So that's fine. I get in it. I was happy because I know this guy. He knows me. Felt great. We got in the car. I drove us to a big place near the baseball field where we do the, the swerve stuff, the crash avoidance and stuff. He gets out. He sets up all the pylons. Then he says, "Okay, let's switch spots because I'm going to show you how to do it first."
He was driving.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were driving.
No, he was. So he says, "Okay, we're sitting here. There's a bus coming at you. The guy had a heart attack. It's not going to stop. Here's how we do it." So we went in. He did this one massive big swerve thing. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, holy banana bread. That's going to be hard. I don't think I can do that. And so then he says, "Okay, we're going to try one more scenario." And this time we go in, and he just messed it up. We hit a pylon, and I felt the tire burst on the car. And so the front tire on the passenger side completely blew it out. And then it's like we then spent the next almost 2 hours, well, about an hour and a bit, changing a tire.
You know what I would have done? I would have looked over to him and go, "Well, there goes the raise."
I know. So, that one's now been rescheduled. Well, I'll do the avoidance again on Monday, and then my next one is on Tuesday. So next week I'll have double trouble to update on
Stay tuned, everyone. Tune to CBC and the National for updated Candace driving lessons, because you never know what.
I know. I can't believe it. Like, I've never had, nothing has gone smoothly at all in this.
Wow. Yeah. And you're just not having an all around good week. I'm glad to hear that, most everything turned out well for your mom and your stepdad and stuff. And for those of you, well, Candace, you can go ahead and tell them about the unexpected little.
Yeah. So then on Tuesday, back in Nova Scotia, there's a power transformer blows up in my mother's neighborhood. It sends an electrical surge into 7 homes. Hers is one of them. And it actually caused an electrical fire. My mom just got out with herself and the dog. The cat's dead. Cat died, unfortunately. And she lost pretty much everything because it was like just basically a wall of black smoke just started coming straight at her type thing. So, I mean, she was very lucky. The stepdad was at work, so he didn't have to deal with anything. But if that had blown at night and that had happened, they would have all been dead. No way around it. So yeah, that's been my week.
Yeah. Well, what are we at, Wednesday?
Yeah. So
I'm not
nothing bad has happened today.
I'm not jinxing anything, and don't you say anything. Don't you
Yeah.
jinx it. Jill, don't you
I
say
won't
anything.
jinx a
We
thing.
don't want triple jinx here.
No, exactly. So
Oh,
yeah,
I'm glad
that's been my
everyone's
week.
okay. I mean, it's unfortunate that an animal was lost, but
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about it is she did have a very long life. Like she was like 17, so she was
ooh,
very old for a cat. So,
maybe
you
she thought it was your mother's cooking. And she goes, I've seen that before over 17 years.
know, yeah,
Make light of the
exactly.
situation, right?
Well, I mean, it was bad enough situation. They actually sent 4 fire trucks and an
Ooh,
ambulance.
ooh. What time
And
of
this
day
is
was
really sad. The firemen actually did get the cat out of the house, and they
it? Oh,
tried to resuscitate the cat, but it was just too. They couldn't do anything. It was too late.
no, that's too bad. That's too bad.
Yeah. So, what can you do?
Well,
I figured I've already had the 3 because then another a week or so before that, my cat died. So
right. Okay. Yeah. So
yeah,
there.
so there's the 3. So I think I'm safe.
We're off the hook.
I hope so.
We're off the hook.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot of stuff to talk about, I think. But the one thing that kind of, you're getting sort of post COVID information now. You've got the inquiry that I think just wrapped up for the inquest, or was it the
The
inquest?
convoy, right?
The,
Or are you thinking of the trucker one?
the trucker one, yeah. It just which amounted to a big nothing, basically. I caught clippets of it, and I see the clips on TikTok. Where they have Krista Freeland, they have good old Trudeau, and they had Blair, Chief Blair. This guy was the head of the OPP, and he's and for people in such authority, they don't know shit.
I know.
They
I
do
know it's
they do know shit, but they don't want to say it because they don't know. Like it's basically all these decisions were made, and they were given a piece of paper to probably read to say, here's what we're doing. And they
mhm.
say, what I don't know isn't going to get me in trouble in court. Not that they're going to get trouble in court because
Yeah.
they're protected.
I think no matter what side you were on in the trucker convoy situation, I think both sides can agree that the whole inquiry was just a waste of time and money and that nothing was going to actually get accomplished. So,
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
than maybe uniting the two sides on that one point.
Wow. I mean, for such a complacent and compliant and such a place as Canada to actually call people who have the I guess the right, is that the word, or the freedom to express their opinion, to call them terrorists? Like, they
Mm,
weren't crashing planes into things. They were not running trucks. They were not exploding bombs. They were not doing this and that. And it's like they did everything to try and shut this down. And what they did was they opened a can of worms simply by the way that they handled it.
yeah. Yeah. I
So,
mean, I think there was probably easier ways to handle it all the way around, but
well, it says here that Ontario wasted 38% of the COVID vaccine doses between February and June of this year because it overestimated demand for boosters. This is from the Auditor General's report today, or findings today,
mhm.
that was released today. Overall, COVID-19 vaccine wastage is 9%, or 3.4 million doses.
Yeah, they don't have a long shelf life.
No, no. And it goes on to say, what was it? What did I see this other thing here, that about 18.7 million was paid to private companies for underutilized mobile COVID-19 testing.
Really?
What's that?
I said, yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
That one vendor charged is guaranteed minimum daily payment of $8,255, whether 0 tests or 250 tests were performed in a day. The LCBO was awarded $108 million in sole sourced IT contracts above the dollar value that should trigger a competitive process, she wrote. That represents 42% of all IT contract spending over a 3-year period, the auditor general examined. It's absolutely the money that went out to the pharma, to this, to that, and everything. And that's well, I guess when you, at the end of the day, a couple $100 million, and a couple $100 million, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was unprecedented. I can understand a certain amount of money being wasted just as they're trying to sort and figure things out. But at the same time, you got to try to be as frugal as you can in the process of doing it, because, well, look at the mess the world is in right now.
66, get this, $66 million worth of expired, damaged, or obsolete PPE inventory. $66 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I mean, you have to look at it this way. When you have the shortage, I think they sort of went on the other, they went to the other extreme in bringing it in to try to make sure we don't have that shortage again. And then you end up with too much. You end up with a surplus. You know, it's kind of the way it works, unfortunately, with government.
But Candace, I don't understand that if we had such a surplus and we're such a giving country, and we have all these underprivileged countries that apparently are needing the help, why in God's name did we not just, we took the loss anyway, just ship it off to them au gratis?
Yeah, no, that would make sense.
Do you realize how much of that 66 million just in the PPE could have gone back into the pockets of all the first responders and all the healthcare workers and everyone? And you know, it's these people, I would hate to see these people run a private company, like their own sole proprietorship.
Yeah. You know? Oh no, I think if they did, they would learn pretty quickly how to balance a dollar, because you just don't have the room.
There's the running joke when the running joke says, the guy says, he goes, well, the bank called me today and they're upset that I can't make the payment on my loan. He says, I don't know what they're all upset about. He goes, they should have known I had no money when I took the loan. That's why I took the loan. It's like,
yeah.
Case in point, case in point, that's just, it's just, I don't know. I think, and they're saying that what have they got? They've got the, is it the rhino flu and the RNV or something like that virus going around. And they said that with the 3 viruses allegedly out there this fall, winter, that it's actually, they're going to compete and kill each other off to a certain degree. And there's only going to be one that'll kind of, they're thinking that the rhino and the other one are going to sort of do in the COVID strain.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you gotta sort of, you can't plan for that. You have to sort of plan for the worst. But you know, I read somewhere the other day that there's some new variants that are sort of milling about, and so it'll be interesting to see how that's all going to work its way out. I have a feeling that you're going to see pretty much yearly COVID shots, I think, going forward. I don't think it's going to go away ever.
Yeah. I don't think so either. And I didn't get to, and I'll be honest, I didn't get to read it, and I did want to bring it up, but what's going on in China with the COVID, and they've locked everyone down again. Like I really, honest to goodness, did not get to read that article.
Well, basically, I mean, in a nutshell, they're having some of their worst outbreaks of the entire pandemic.
Oh, really?
And they're having some of the worst death of the entire pandemic. So it's gotten a little out of control. And so with their zero policy, they're just clamping down completely.
That's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, it's pretty tight there. Like in China, if you want to travel anywhere, you have to have a within 2 days a negative COVID test, and they're testing you every 2 days.
Wow.
You know, and they're locking people down left, right, and center. And people are starting to get upset. They're starting to fight back in China. There's been riots and everything.
Well, I mean, do you agree with that? I mean, it's like, I don't, I can't see that we can lock down every time something happens. We can't go into the fetal position
No.
and go back and shut everything down, because it's just, it's just going to keep us in a groundhog day. We can't. I don't think as a
Yeah. No, we can't. I think we're at a point now that initially, maybe yes, trying to stop it while we're figuring out what exactly we have. I mean, there was so much misinformation at the beginning of the pandemic because people, and it's not so much misinformation, it's that we were learning about the virus. We weren't sure exactly how bad it was going to be. So because of that misinformation, a lot of times people, you'd hear somebody say, okay, well, no masks, we don't need masks. And then the next 2 weeks later, yeah, we need masks, because the information was constantly in flux, completely changing as we were learning more and more about it. Because that's kind of the way that's kind of the way it was. And it was almost like trial by error because nobody knew. And I mean, this was kind of unprecedented if you think about it. The level of lockdowns. Now they did the similar thing with the Spanish flu back in the early 1900s. Like they shut down the schools and people wore masks.
Yep.
But it was still, they never completely got to the level that we shut down society. And now we're at a point that we have to learn to cope with it because we can't shut down again like that.
No.
I mean, the economy just cannot handle it.
No.
Right now we're talking about, a coming recession. We shut down again for another 6 months or so, and we're going to be looking at a depression. There's no way around it.
Well, that's a good point to bring up. I mean, so what would happen? Play the scenario through that we go, just let's play it through and say we go down to a lockdown. Do you feel that the government would jump in with their quantitative easing game both north and south of the border? Or would they just roll the dice and let the economy naturally have the pig slither through the python?
I think we're at the point that they wouldn't let a depression happen. I think the governments right now, they've already shown what they will do. They printed a lot of money during the pandemic. Even though they're making it worse down the road.
Yeah.
So it's like a world size level of sweeping it under the rug and waiting for somebody else to deal with it.
Yeah.
And then when that next person or that next government comes in, they're not going to want to deal with it either.
Oh no.
And they're just going to try to keep sweeping. But eventually the bell has to toll.
But
so,
it's right. It's not like our government has a lotto ticket that they're going to win, $100 trillion and wipe out the entire deficit and stuff like this, because it's with all the countries that are involved and this person knows that person, it's a huge house of cards.
Oh, it is. Absolutely.
And there is no, I guess I could say this fairly confidently to say that there is no country that would come out of this unscathed.
No, exactly. You hear the words like the Great Reset. I mean, they're not going to do that. The banks are never going to let the governments do that. It just won't happen. So it's one of these situations that, debt is normal when it comes to at least that level of government. So, the deficit's never going to be paid. It's always going to be carried forward over and over again. We'll just be talking about bigger numbers. And, excuse me, the numbers that we talk about today sound big, but, your grandchildren, the numbers that when they hear numbers that we had today, they'd be like, oh my God, I wish we had such a small deficit. Because, they'll be talking trillion will be nothing. It might even be a quadrillion, 30, 40 years from now. We just don't know. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, it's definitely, you can definitely, when you go on the conspiracy. Thank you. By a vowel. You can definitely see how events could be construed as suppressing certain parts of society by doing things. You could, because you can say, it's tough to make ends meet. It's like, it doesn't matter how much you raise the minimum wage. It's a trickle down approach. That it's like, well, it's like the government saying we're going to give this money to this group or this faction or this country and stuff. at the end of the day, that everyone who supports it's rah 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 rah, and then most of them sit back and go, wait a minute, that's coming right off out of my pocket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you've got a situation here where, most people, I don't know anybody who has received a raise as large as the amount of inflation that's been out there. I don't think there's anybody out there who has. So we're looking at a situation where you've got the Bank of Canada saying, oh, if you keep giving people raises, it's going to feed into the whole wage price spiral and get out of control. So don't do that. Don't pay people any more money. That's what the Bank of Canada said. And
But
there are a lot of businesses that are doing that. They're like, we'll pay you the bare minimum that we have to just to keep you from leaving.
but who are the worst offenders of that? The governments, because the unions go on strike, have them by the Corleones, and what are they forced to do?
Go back to work. In most
It's
cases, unless they're like something that is not that important. But yeah, it's a situation where the government will step in. Now, actually, some of these government regulated jobs actually haven't received that much when it comes to raises, like on the lower end of the government side, because a lot of them have different freezes on them and things like that that are still in effect.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot of people who are getting massive pay cuts by deflation, just by the nature of what it is. And here's the thing, even if the Bank of Canada's argument about cutting wages is that don't worry about it. We're going to get inflation under control. Don't give them a raise based on inflation. Give them a raise on where it'll be when we got it under control. Well, here's the thing, though. When you get it under control, you're taking inflation from 7% down to 2%, but prices are still going up the whole time. It's not like all of a sudden all the prices fell back 7% to catch you back up so that you're A-okay again. They're not going to do that. You're going to be behind. So everybody at the end on the other side of this, even when they do get to that 2%, you're all going to be making less money. You're all going to be affording less stuff. That's just the nature of the way this inflation bomb has happened.
Well, and the crazy thing is that I don't know what the price of gas is out there, but I was in London, as I mentioned today, and the price per liter was $1.41. And people are going, "Oh my God, what a reduction!" And I'm going, "Are you off your rocker? Like that's still 40, 50, 60 cents, way too much."
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you get. That's the intelligence that they have to put your head underwater with the price so high, keep it there so long that it's like the Stockholm syndrome or the stock. Is it the
Well,
stock?
pretty much. I mean, that's
and then they put it down. They go, "Oh, thank you for putting it down." And they still walk away like this going, ha, ha, ha.
Well, gas has done that, I mean, really for years.
Right.
Gas goes up really high. People complain, then they only bring it down a little bit and people rejoice, and that becomes the new norm. Then it goes up high. So it's the same thing over and over again. I mean, enjoy your gas right now, because I'll tell you, OPEC is not happy with the price of gas right now. And, there's already been hints of them cutting back on production. So, and we're not going to be seeing the U.S. Strategic Reserve pumping out gas anymore. So in the new year, we're going to see some really big hikes in the price of gas, especially if China gets their act together too. Because right now, like the current drop, like where it dropped earlier this week down to $74 a barrel, that was almost entirely because of China saying, well, we're not going to need gas right now because we got everybody under lockdown.
Right.
So once they've got that sorted out and they get their poop together over there in China, they're going to start gobbling up the gas again. You're going to see some massive hikes.
Well, and I don't know. And here again, I admit that I haven't been. It's just I've been too busy to keep up with a lot of the current affairs and stuff. But I mean, we still have to worry about Germany not having heating fuel and stuff like that. I mean, I haven't heard really that much in the news about that. But I mean, that's got to be sort of a bone of contention that's just kind of bubbling below the surface right now.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, they're still in a situation where winter is going to be bad in Europe, but this whole drop right now in prices is helping the situation a little bit, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just the price though. That's the whole issue. Like it'll only help to a certain extent because a lot of it too is just the amount. You know, when you don't have the Russia oil coming through, like Nord 1, for example, that's just a lot of natural gas and oil that's just not there.
Yep.
So, and also luckily the winter hasn't been very brutal yet.
Yeah.
So that has helped a lot. Like the amount of oil they normally would have used this year, they haven't had to use because we've had a pretty mild winter in Europe so far.
Yeah.
That's going to change though.
Yep.
You know, the worst, I mean, winter technically isn't even here yet. So
No, not until a couple of weeks from now.
yeah, exactly. December 20th.
So let's change gears a minute here and talk about, I don't want to say we told you so, but we told you so.
BlockFi.
BlockFi. Holy Jesus, you knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. And I am so grateful that, you know, I was of the opinion that because of the people involved and because it was, you know, and I drank the Kool-Aid on that one, but I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. And Tim Perry said, get your ass out of BlockFi. And I did. Because that is where all my Bitcoin and all my Ethereum was.
Well, I got out of BlockFi like almost a year and a half ago. I mean, it's like, I'll tell you who's in trouble now.
CoinDesk.
Well, also Kraken.
Oh no, don't say Kraken. Shite.
Kraken. Well, right now they're starting to show the signs. They're laying off about 1,000 people, so that's kind of their first sign that there's some trouble over at Kraken. So, you know, if you're on Kraken, I would get off Kraken right now. I would move things to hardware wallets just to be on the safe side, because once you see them start to falter, it can go fast. So just be safe. Let's get off of Kraken if you guys are on there.
Shakepay is okay.
Shakepay, yeah, Shakepay is fine.
Yeah.
Wealthsimple is fine. I have no concerns, or there's no hints of anything wrong in either of those houses. And they also have insurance. Well, not so much on the crypto side, but at least Wealthsimple on their stock side. So they also don't loan things out, which is the nice part about both of those.
Right. Yeah. And I was watching, actually, I think I watched the entire stream of Len and Joey on Monday night with the Canadian Bitcoiners, and just, you know, just how this FTX debacle has really shaken and is just sending, you know, shockwaves right through everything, because everything seems to be connected in one way or another. And they I don't know the context of it, and I don't know if Len's on watching, but there was out in some municipality or county or something in the United States where they had this old, I guess I'll call it, and I'm goofing it a bit here, but it was like a one-room bank, and basically it was a cover. It was a laundering. It allegedly was a laundering scheme for a lot of the goings on with FTX, and there were rumors about Tether having some involvement there too.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
How can this guy of FTX and his family be living in such luxury and flaunting it out of country? How come this guy isn't in chains already? How come?
Well, if you know how to move money, you can put money places that governments can't touch it. You know, and he's done that. And the fact that he's been able to move it via crypto made it really easy. So almost in a way, he's almost
proven the point.
Exemplified some of the horror stories that the naysayers have been saying about criminals using it, because that's kind of what he did. And he's obviously a criminal.
Yep. He's just done a huge case study on it. And he's just showing us how it's done, folks. And you know, it's,
but yeah, but coming back just to Shakepay and even Wealthsimple, when it comes to your crypto, there's no real benefit to hold your crypto on either of them anyway. So if you bought your Bitcoin on Shakepay, move it off into a hardware wallet. Just be safe. Even though I think that Shakepay is fine, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes in their boardrooms. Maybe there's some issues that none of us know about, and they're just hiding it. Because a lot of these crypto, like Celsius, there was not a lot of clues that everything was about to implode on them until it did.
Mhm.
So always keep that in mind. Be
Mhm.
on the safe side. Better safe than sorry.
Yep. And Ken had posted something on the crypto Facebook page about RBC buying HBSC, and it's like, why are they going after that bank of all banks? Like, I thought that one was gone.
Well,
I understand why, because it serves a certain purpose to a certain.
yeah, I mean, and there's going to be a lot of gesturing, I think, between the big six as they're solidifying. And a lot of times it's not even about the Canadian assets that a certain bank holds. It's some of the more international access and some of the markets that it provides them access to.
Mhm.
On Thursday, on Monday, I'm actually doing a video on the banks, the big six, because all of the Q4 reports have come out this week. So there's a lot of news, and then there's also the RBC buying HBSC. So yeah, that's going to be Monday. And of course, just to also sort of go off to the side, the big bank, the Bank of Canada, is actually losing money now.
Really?
Oh yeah. Well, part of it is during their whole buying, they bought like bonds like crazy. They were buying government bonds. They weren't buying them directly from the government. They were buying them from banks. So from like the big six. As they've been raising their rates, interest rates have been going up. So now they're paying a lot more interest on all the bonds, and they bought an incredible amount of bonds. So that amount of interest is now much bigger than all of the interest they're making on their assets. So they're now at a point where they're going to, for the next little while, they're going to be, losing a lot of money. So they're going to probably in the next couple of years, they'll lose a couple $1 billion just because of that interest alone.
Whose money is that really?
Well, it's all of our money.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
We're just bleeding money left and right, and we can't do anything about it. There's literally nothing we can do, because people say, "Well, I'm moving out of Canada." To where? Where are you
That's the thing.
moving?
It's the same story everywhere, though. I mean,
Of course it is. Of course it is.
unless you can find an uncharted desert island and go live there and call it, whatever you want.
Well,
Taxlandia.
I don't mean to pump this or anything, but it certainly does prove, with all of these assets, and when you're talking cryptocurrencies and stuff like that, it definitely starts to show how not foolproof and not guaranteed, or not, I'm not going down that path with my statement, but just how close to the mark out of all of them Bitcoin is, being the value.
Yeah.
But could that be the biggest sham of all?
Well, I mean, I still fundamentally believe in what Bitcoin is.
Yeah.
But I think we're now at the point that without regulation, it just can't go anywhere. Nobody's going to trust it. Bitcoin has, even though this is not Bitcoin's fault, what's happened to Celsius and FTX and BlockFi. This has nothing to do with Bitcoin at all, really. It's basically people who were mismanaging exchanges and doing kind of shady deals on the side. And that's that's hurt Bitcoin sort of by association.
Correct. It's getting the same brush.
Because if you think about it, and I guess this is the other side of the coin, is that if these exchanges were using cash instead of crypto, nobody would have blamed the cash at all at any point. They would have just blamed the people. But because they're using crypto, a lot of people are kind of blaming the crypto. And that's, I think, just because of some of the arguments from the naysayers and such about crypto, and crypto being this horrible thing. Even the Bank of Canada, even the Canadian Commons, every time a liberal gets asked a question they don't like, they throw crypto back at Polyev.
Yeah.
It's like,
Ken,
there's a lot of villainization of crypto. Now, what Bitcoin does, I think, is a good, but we need regulation, but it needs to be. And this is what I was thinking about. Like, if you want regulation, for one, it needs to be bipartisan. So you can't have any one party come in and try to politicize the regulation, because it needs to be just something very basic that offers some basic guidelines, some basic protection for people, so that way people can feel safe investing in it, so that institutions can feel safe investing in it, because that'll start bringing some of the big money in, and that's when you'll see a completely different story with Bitcoin. It'll actually, be something that everybody will want.
But okay, so I'm going to throw this out. I'm going to throw this out. You cannot regulate Bitcoin worldwide, because it only can be regulated in the countries and the exchanges that are within those countries.
That's right. But let's just say this: if the SEC creates regulations in the States, most Western companies are going to fall in line with that, and they're going to mirror a lot of those regulations.
But doesn't that shove it over to the other countries who aren't so?
Well, that's the whole thing, and that's a problem. But I mean, if you think about it, it's the same thing with regular currency.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has their own regulations towards how things are going to work. So you're never going to have a world regulation on it, but you'll have regulations within countries to provide protections within those countries.
Well, and it's the same way that we can't use I would draw a parallel to say it's probably the same way that we can't use Binance here in Ontario, is that, if there was it, well, there are exchanges out there that are non-Canadian and stuff, and it's just we can't get into it because it's just not allowable. And it's like, I still don't know how they do that, but they do it, right? It's like some of those countries would go, they'd just flip the bird at people and go, screw that. If they want to come on board, they come on board. Whether that's catching it through some AI and internet thing, I don't know. But, it's like, regardless, I am so happy to have my stuff over on a hard wallet and get it the heck off. There are a couple
hard wallet is definitely where to be. And I mean, it doesn't hurt. Like, while Bitcoin is really, really cheap, it doesn't hurt to stack a few sats, because it will recover in time.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
It just don't, if you want some quick to the moon fast time action on Bitcoin, you're not going to get it.
It's gone. That thing is gone, and you had to.
Yeah, those days are over.
You really had to time it throughout the pandemic and just before.
Until if regulation comes out, and once the first institutional investor starts to pop in, there's going to be a small window when the institutions start flooding in, where you could make some big money again with Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to sort of be able to time that, and sometimes timing the market, what they say, it's not the easiest thing to do.
I think that there is the possibility that people could get attracted to some of the altcoins that pump and dump, and they can get in and make some fast money, as opposed to going long and strong with Bitcoin or something else like that. You know what I mean? But I draw the parallel, just as you said, and you did a wonderful video on day trading and stuff like that, be careful. Like, you got to know your shit, and you've got to have the time to sit down and do it. And these people who, like, Ken knows his stuff, Ken watches stuff, but people who want to be a Ken can't be Ken, and that's where they can lose some serious cash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And, it takes a lot for you to know about what you're doing with the stocks, for Ken to know a lot about what he's doing with the crypto coins. And it's not an overnight study.
No,
and you usually lose a pant load before you make a pant load.
Yeah. And I mean, even once you've got it down, you're still going to have days where things just go absolutely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It will happen. It's the law of averages. You can't win every single horse you bet on. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to lose quite a few of them. The thing is just sort of to manage how you win. So you want to make your wins bigger than your losses, and that will make you profitable.
That's assuming you know what you're doing.
Well, yeah, and that's the whole thing.
Right. In the crypto industry, the there's all these programs that, I would watch Rob on, Digital Asset News. He would use it. And I swear to God, people would go and just, and it's like, be careful, be very careful. This AI or this program that he's using, there's a lot deeper stuff that goes behind that than just these little graphs.
Yeah. Oh, and one of the other big things too is when you're trading, even in crypto, when you're looking to do fast trades, you're not just playing against people. You're actually playing against bots. So there are bots there that understand, they have algorithms and they're looking for every possible edge.
Yeah.
And they would love nothing more than to take the money from you. That's why you've got to be really, really careful, because sometimes everything says this should work, but it's not going to, because the bots know that everything says it should work, and they're expecting people to start pumping some money into it. And they're sitting there with a lot larger capital than what you have, so that they can really impact that price and kind of screw you all at the same time. So
it's incredible, isn't it? It's incredible
it is.
how everyone gets excited to go and get ice cream, and then when you get there, there's no more ice cream left.
Yeah.
Or it melts right in your hand, and it's like, well, Jesus, I just, I've used as a metaphor, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, or even if you look at the Wall Street pump stuff during the pandemic, as soon as a lot of people heard about what was happening and they were getting in there and throwing their money in, it was already way too late.
Yeah.
So it's one of these things. It's like, if you can't get in at the beginning, sometimes you'll see something pumping. And it's kind of like that with a stock. You'll see a stock pumping and you're like, oh God, look at the size of that green candle. I got to jump on. And you'll jump on and it will turn around. And next thing you know, you're in a situation where, well, if I sell it now, I'm taking a loss and it keeps going down. Now, as a day trader, you have to kind of take that loss, because you've got a stop loss where you want to, because you don't want to ride it all the way down. Otherwise, you're going to take a big loss. But you don't want to be, ideally, you should never have jumped onto that in the beginning. So I've seen times where I've seen something pumping and it's been pumping enough that I'm thinking it's close to turning. It's got to be close to the top. I could be wrong. And sometimes I am, and I will watch it continue to go, but I would rather miss that train and look for a train near the beginning of the station and jump on that one instead.
Yep.
Because then I know that there's going to be a little bit of room for some growth, and it's not a situation where I jump in. Like I've seen, like when I first started, I've seen sometimes I've jumped on some near the top thinking it was going to keep going. And by the time it actually settled, it was already on its way down. And I'm like, what?
Yep.
It just said, I just hit the buy. How did that happen?
And that's my luck with investing, just like my luck is with Shakepay every day. It's like, damn it.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes you have to come up with a system. You gotta, you have to sort of be consistent, follow it, know the stocks that you're trading, pay attention. Like I'll add a few new ones every so often. But when I do add a new one, I don't put a full trade on them. I might put like maybe a quarter trade, opposed to, going in like full bore on them, because I need to see how they're going to behave. I need to sort of figure out the way that stock is moving.
Yep.
So, and that's nice. Like sometimes I'll have stocks, like one of the stocks I like to trade is Manulife Financial, actually, because they have pretty steady moves. They don't have a lot. They do move a lot. They move a fair amount. So just usually they get into a candle and they just move up and down that candle through the hour. And then they start a new candle and then they move up and down wherever that candle is going to be. So you don't see a lot of completely out of the blue big drops, or even, well, sometimes you will see big pumps, but they happen like at open.
Right.
So, it's one of those situations where right now I wouldn't leave money overnight in them, for the simple reason that they're at an all-time high for at least, looking at it over the last couple of months.
Right.
So there's more of a chance, I think, that they might go down tomorrow morning a little bit and then go back up, which is even perfect, because I'd rather see that happen, because then I can jump in. If they go in the morning and they just drop, I can jump in immediately and then ride it back up.
Yep.
So, just one of those little things. But I'll actually have more videos coming out. I've been not putting off. I just want to do it right. I want to do a really nice day trading basics video. It won't be this Saturday, it'll be the following Saturday. That's where I've tentatively got it slotted right now.
Right.
So yeah, but it's coming. It is coming for sure.
I see a comment here. It's back up in the chat by Ram Rider, and he is making the comment that Ontario allows gambling. And you know what? Since I've been over at my mother-in-law's where they have real cable, and watching some of the sports, and I'm sorry, folks, I don't have the time of day for FIFA. Those guys need Emmy awards for going down all the time, holding their boo-boos and this and that. But he is right that the advertisements that I see on the sports that I'm watching now, and the big name sports celebrities advertising and promoting these gambling sites are these guys are, I mean, this is like advertising cigarettes back in the day. This is going to be a problem.
No, and that's especially right now when people don't have a lot of money.
Yes.
The thoughts of going to the casino and maybe winning some money means that you can feed your family next week. Chances are, though, you're not going to be able to feed them this week or next week. So,
or they're going to get a candlestick and they're going to get wax on them.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's sports betting. It's the sports betting. You got, I think it's Connor McDavid, and you had Gretzky when it first came out. I think you got Ty Domi in there. And I'm a little shocked that where's the responsibility in the responsibility of managing your money.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Jamie Foxx, you're right. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't.
No, I think though, when Ram was mentioning gambling, I think he was referring to the day trading as gambling. It's not it's gambling if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
If you go in there and you don't have the TA, you don't have the knowledge, you're using stocks you have no clue, because every single time you go in, that stock's either going to go up or down, which is like gambling. But if you've done the proper TA on it, you've got a better idea of how it's going to move.
Yeah.
So you can get to a point where if let's say, for example, if you've got a 60% chance of being right every single time, well, if that were gambling, that would make you the house, because you're playing the better odds. Because over time, and here's the thing too, is it's just kind of the way you have to limit. Now, if you get into things like, for example, leverage, then you're asking for trouble, in my opinion. Some people really want to do it because if you don't have a lot of money to put into it, you can, by using leverage, you can do let's say you did a 10 times leverage, then it's like you're playing with, if you have $1,000, it's like you're playing with $10,000. So you could have better returns. And this is one of the reasons I don't particularly like leverage, is that you can lose. You can't really control, because you can end up losing everything you got. You could actually lose more than what you have, and then all of a sudden you have to pay in to your broker.
Yep.
So I mean, I trade with zero leverage. I don't use any at all, because this way here, I know what I'm going to lose if it starts to slide down, and with my stop losses, I'm not going to take a very big hit at all. It's going to be very insignificant. And that's but I mean, I'm lucky to the point that, I do have enough of a egg, a capital egg to use for this, that, I can still make significant money doing it.
But you see, what you're saying right now is mature, calculated moves. And you got there by making mistakes. And
absolutely.
And there are people who, I just got to remind myself, and it's still, when I'll still get the odd message coming through, oh, go after this coin. And we look at it, it's like, holy shit, it's really good. But to what you're saying, it's like, it's almost at the top when I'm learning about it. It's just like when they call the recession, chances are we're over halfway through the recession type of deal, right? Like, I mean, the party's over.
Hmm.
You know, you can come and you can look at the celebrities, but they're not going to wave because that part of their day is over. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's just, I just, you know, we don't understand how much education and how much control it takes to do this stuff. And, in the day when everything was really moving and shaking and stuff like that, and YouTube was really, like, you have to admit, YouTube, I would say the allure of YouTube and watching all these people on YouTube and, the influencers and stuff has kind of died off. I think, because I know, I say that personally because it's died off for me huge.
Right, but that's because
And,
you've been around for a while. I think for
right.
new people, it's still in there. Like they come in and if you're brand new to investing and you see all the shiny bells and especially if you go into some of the Americans, like you get some people who are like they're just very charismatic, and before long, it's like you want to be doing the exact same type of trading that they're doing, and you're getting yourself into trouble sometimes if you sort of weakly follow somebody. Look at how many of the U.S. ones were pumping FTX.
Oh,
I mean, and, making it sound like it was the safest bet out there, and it's like, yikes.
yes.
Now they're all eating humble crow, but
Oh, well, and Coinbase. Sorry,
mhm.
chair.
Yeah, no, I mean, when it comes to sponsorships, when I decide to take one, it has to be something I believe in.
Mhm.
Like it's not going to be like I'll do my research, like you know, like the one that I find really annoying now is like a lot of them have been pumping this whole established titles thing. And well, established titles, I'll tell you the story. So basically, established titles is the service where they say, "Oh yeah, for this amount, we'll let you buy like a centimeter of land over in Scotland, and that will make you a lord or a lady, and you can have the title." Well, the reality is, it's all BS. They do own land in Scotland a little bit, but they have no right to sell any of it to you. And by Scottish law, they're not allowed to do that either. So the law is very clear that they're not allowed to do it. And the company itself isn't even in Scotland. They're I think in Asia. It's like so it's like a massive, massive scam.
Just
But
burst the bubble.
a lot of people have been pumping it. So I mean, I'd be the type of person that if a company like that approached me, I'd like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. Let me look into you guys. I would want to do a lot of my due diligence in a case like that, because if I promote some company and they turn out to be a giant scam thing, that doesn't reflect well on me.
So I guess that piece of paper with a certificate that says I own a star up in the galaxy is bullshit too.
It probably, yeah, obviously that is.
Well, there's a star, all right.
Yeah, I mean that's more of a novelty thing. When you're going into it though, that one you kind of know it's novelty. But this whole established title thing, it seems like oh yeah, that sounds like it could be real. And that's how they suck people in. I mean,
It
yeah.
started. It started back with Ronco and all the KTEL stuff, and you know what? You remember that? You just suck them in, and it would be like, you gotta have one of those, and you get it there,
Yeah.
and it's like, this is a piece of junk.
And look, and Ram Ryder owns an acre of the land on the moon.
Oh wow!
You know, if China lands their rover there, Ram, you should charge them rent.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Charge for trespassing.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, it's all interesting. It's going to be but it's going to be interesting to see next week. We've got a really, and you're only going to get next week's guest on our channel, and his name is oh my god, David,
The connected guy.
guy, the world's most connected guy. Oh my god, that is horrible. I'm sorry, David, if you're watching. That is absolutely despicable. Fill in the blank there for a minute, Candace. I got to look his name up. Oh, that's horrible. Anyway, only here next week is going to be the most connected person in the world. Google him. He's there. He does a TED Talks. I think he does an 18-minute TED Talks. And it's absolutely incredible about what he considers to be the most connected guy and his story behind it. And it's just incredible to listen to him. I mean, he's, believe it or not, it's just interesting stuff, and he's very passionate about it. And we are going to be lucky, very fortunate and lucky and privileged to be able to have him on our show.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a fantastic show. This is one to mark on the calendars, folks.
You realize I'm searching for his name, right?
Oh, are you? Okay. Well, as Tim tries to find out his last name, David.
It's not.
No, it's not David, because that'd be kind of fun.
Chris Dancy. I am so sorry, Chris. It's been such a long day, brother. I'm so sorry. Chris Dancy.
There we go. Chris Dancy.
Chris Dancy. And
that's okay. I called him David, so at least you got the Chris right.
You ever heard of a guy named Malcolm Gladwell?
It sounds familiar, but I'm not sure who he is.
Interesting dude. He's Canadian. He lives in the States now. He was a Mennonite just outside of St. Jacobs is where his roots are. But he's an interesting dude to listen to as well about some stuff going on. And you know, he's kind of an interesting dude. If you ever have the ability to sit down and listen to him, I like his David and Goliath story. But
yeah.
Chris Dancy, Chris Dancy's going to be here for the whole hour. I don't know whether we're going to have a format of questions or whether he's just sort of got a plug and play that he's just going to go and we're just going to let him go. I don't know, but I know that it will pretty much be uninterrupted until we get breaks that we can, sort of ask him, because as I say, his time is so precious that I know he's at a conference next week as well. So I know he's fitting us in at night. He's speaking at a conference or something, which we'll get more on when we talk to him. But folks, it's going to be a real wing dinger. MC said she watched him on his TED Talk as well. So it's going to be great. It's going to be really great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'll make sure I wear my watch just to be connected for next week.
Really, Ken? Duncan Hines.
Duncan Hines.
Duncan Hines.
I hear Duncan and I always think of Dunkin' Donuts. And we don't even have Dunkin' Donuts in Canada, so.
Yeah, we did.
Did we? Well, we didn't have them in Nova Scotia then. I just don't know anything.
Maybe we didn't.
I thought they were mostly American.
Well, they are. They're very big in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the commercials as a kid. There used to always be this guy who was a manager or something for Dunkin' Donuts who'd always be getting up at 2 a.m. and half tired, going, "It's time to make the donuts. It's time to make the donuts." As he sort of trudged his way finally to work. Oh, there we go. So Mr. Red Taco says we went to one in BC. I've never been to and even when I've been in the States, I've never been to a Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, neither have I. I don't.
Well, once I get my license in the spring, I'll have to do a road trip to Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, you'll know how to change your tire too.
I know. Well, I'll tell you, and it was a funny thing because he wasn't even sure if there was a tire in the back of the car because it wasn't his normal car.
It what?
It wasn't his normal car. His normal car was in the shop. So we tore apart the back and the tire was there, but then he couldn't find the jack. We finally found the jack, and it wasn't one of those ones that you jack like that. It had this whole whirly thing, and it was horrible. And once we got it up, he couldn't get the lug nuts off, but it's because one of them was a security nut.
Oh.
So you had to get the special thing out of the thing. And even then, once we couldn't get the tire off with the lug nuts off because we think it was rusted. So he started to let the pump down, and then the weight of the car got the tire to come off. So then he had to pump it back up. Then as he's putting the spare tire on, the jack falls. So he jumped. I warned him to jump back. So he jumped back. But at that point, all he had to do was tighten up the lug nuts because he'd already done initial tighten on each of them before the jack fell.
Did he block the tire?
What's that?
Did he block a tire when he did that?
No, he did not block a tire.
Big boo-boo.
Yeah. And he gave me advice. He told me to get a lug nut gun to keep in the thing, you know, one of the electric ones.
You know what's cheap? You know what's cheaper and more convenient? A little card that says CAA on it.
Probably, yeah.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
But yeah, it was one of those things. And it was cold. It was like, you know, and the funny thing is I didn't even wear my winter jacket that day because my winter jacket's a little more constrictive and I just wanted to be all loosey-goosey for the, you know, for the evasive driving. So it's like,
don't make that mistake next week, will you?
No, because I'm sure by next week we're somehow going to flip the car. That's what I'm guessing.
Oh, dear God. Oh,
I know.
Oh,
what can you do, right?
My God. Please, no. You'll miss Chris.
No, I'm sure I'll be fine. Every week I expect doom and gloom, and I normally, well, okay, this week I got it, but
yeah, you got a double dose.
Yeah, but no, next week should be good, hopefully.
What do you got coming out with your videos and stuff? You mentioned you had
yeah, so tomorrow is actually I've had a lot of people wondering what's going on with Algonquin Power. So tomorrow is a deep dive on Algonquin Power. Is it a great deal or is it a disaster waiting to happen? Find out tomorrow. Then Saturday, over on Create, Save, and Invest, I'm going to be over on his channel. We're going to do a live stream together talking about YouTube, the behind the scenes of YouTube, how it works, monetization, and of course, finance, because we're both finance channels. So that will all be in there. And then Monday, like I said, Monday is going to be that Q4 Big Six Bank video, and then I'll be back here again next Wednesday to see the most connected guy in the world,
Chris Dancy, next Monday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here on the Danter Banter. He is the only one. I don't see him on a lot of other channels, and we are going to be so privileged and so fortunate to have him grace our presence, folks. Pass it along because, you know, whether you're a believer or not, at least you're going to get something out of this. It's going to be really interesting. I see, you know, just as a sidebar, you know who I haven't heard of is our young investor, Mr. SM Diecast. Have you heard from him lately?
Not lately. I know that he's been super busy with his schoolwork, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think he's been overburdened, but other than that, no, I haven't seen hide or hair of him.
Yep. Well, and if Ken was on here, he'd say, well, he might be on Friday, he might be on Saturday. So I'll speak on his behalf and say he might be on Friday, he might be on Saturday, he might be on both.
Nobody knows.
Not at all.
Just watch your notifications, and maybe you'll see him.
Yep. And if he says he's coming on at 10 o'clock, you can guarantee he'll be on at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm rubbing you, Ken. I'm just bugging you, buddy.
Well, it's funny. When I'm waiting to go live on my live stream on Sundays, I'm always looking at it. I'm like, should I just drop in 1 minute early? Come on, just drop in 1 minute early.
That's remember I messaged you last week for the well, last week was a big boo-boo because I put it up as Tuesday and everyone's going, okay, it's a joke, and I went, oh, that was not on purpose, folks. That really was not on purpose. And then so we did it for Wednesday, and Nancy just got home from a trip and I was beat tired, and that's when I messaged you and Ken and I go, you want to go on early? And it's like we were gonna go live at 7:30, and I thought, oh, that's really gonna mutt stuff up, and I thought, no, you know,
yeah, well, I was upstairs, so I came downstairs for the stream at about 7:45, and there was your message. I'm like, oh, okay. So I wasn't sure. I thought I was gonna be coming on late last week because of that. Because as soon as I saw that,
well, Ken's into the gummies, I guess. I don't know whether he means he's into them tonight or whether he's. No, I know he was into them Saturday night or Friday night. I know that for a fact because he was in the car. And yeah, he was funny. Anyway, folks, thanks for coming. Candace, thanks for your time. Appreciate it as always.
Yeah.
Tune in next week. See our special guest, and everyone stay safe. And you know.
And if I'm in a sling, then driving went bad.
I'm almost prepared to say take your hockey helmet, but you know, roll cage and everything in the car because it is